With this lesson, we're going to look at some of the letters in the Hebrew alphabet that are easy to confuse with one another. I'm going to show you some ways to tell them apart. As you become more familiar with Hebrew, these letters will start to look very distinct to you, but here at the beginning, they're easy to confuse. These three letters can be confused with each other. The key to telling these letters apart is to look here in the upper right-hand corner. You'll notice on this top letter that the horizontal on top overlaps the vertical very slightly. This is what we call a tittle, whereas in the second letter, there is a fluid curve from the horizontal to the vertical. The letter with the overlap with the tittle is a dalet. The curved letter is a resh. I remember round resh. This bottom letter is also easy to confuse with the top one. This one has a tittle and looks almost exactly like a dalet if you just look at the top. But the difference is this one has a long tail that hangs down below the line of the writing, whereas the dalet has a short tail. So long tails you will come to recognize almost always indicate final position letters. This one is the final form of a qaf. Dalet, resh, qaf. These three letters are also easy to confuse with one another. The trick to differentiating these letters is here in the upper left-hand corner. You'll notice with the top letter there is a space between the horizontal and the left vertical, whereas in the second letter, the horizontal and the vertical are connected. This top letter is a he, second letter is a chet. The bottom letter, if you look in the upper left, looks exactly like the chet. The difference between the chet and this last letter is that there's a foot here at the bottom which sticks out to the left. This letter is a tav. So he has a space, chet is joined, tav has a foot pointing out. He, chet, tav. These two letters are probably the most easily confused. Here the key again is to look for the tittle versus the curve. The top letter there is a tittle, this is a bet. The bottom letter there is a fluid curve, this is a chaf. Bet, chaf. These two letters can be confused as well. Here again you'll notice the differences here in the bottom right corner. This top letter has a separate heel. It almost looks like somebody wearing knee boots or something like that. Here on the bottom letter there is somebody's wearing flats. So the letter with the heel is a gimel. The letter with the flat is a nun. These three letters are also easy to confuse. The key to differentiating them is to look here on the upper left of the letter. This top letter has what looks like a little tail kind of sticking off of a triangle. This letter is a mem. The second letter, I like to think of this as a lid that has been pushed down inside the box. This letter with the lid pushed down inside is a tet. This bottom letter also has a lid, but this lid is closed across the top. This is the final form of a mem. Mem, tet, final mem. The final mem is also easy to confuse with a samech. You'll notice here in the upper left-hand corner they look almost exactly the same. The samech also has a lid closing the top of the box. The difference between these two letters is in the bottom corners. With the final mem, these are square corners. With the samech, these are rounded. Final mem, samech. These two letters will start to look quite distinct for you as you become more familiar with Hebrew, but I have noticed that some students do confuse these when they're first trying to learn the alphabet. The key to distinguishing these two letters is to look for the long continuous stroke. The top letter, the continuous stroke begins on the upper right and moves down to the lower left. Then you have a second stroke that is on the upper left. With the bottom letter, the continuous stroke starts on the upper left, goes diagonally to the bottom right, and then it goes across the bottom back to the left, and then you have this separate stroke on the upper right. The letter on the top is an ayin. The letter on the bottom is a tzadeh. Ayin, tzadeh. These two letters are possible to confuse, although I think not terribly likely. You'll notice that this stroke here is exactly the same as the stroke here, but this letter has an additional stroke to it on the upper right. You notice from the long tails that these are both final letters. The top is a final nun. The bottom is a final tzadeh. Letters with a long tail are final letters. These three letters are also possible to confuse. With the first two letters, the difference is here in the upper right-hand corner. As should be familiar to you by now, the difference is going to be between this curved connection between the horizontal and the vertical, and this overlapping tittle between the horizontal and the vertical. The curved letter is a vav. The letter with the tittle is a zayin. You'll also notice that the final nun looks a lot like a vav at the top right corner. The difference, of course, is the long tail compared to the short downstroke of the vav. Vav, zayin, final nun. Finally, you'll notice that these two letters are exactly the same except for the position of this dot. The way that I remember this is, if you recall that Hebrew is read from right to left, then this top dot is in the back of the letter. So I think of that letter as being a little shy, so it is a shin. Shy, shin. By contrast, this letter is out in front of the letter, so it wants to be seen, and this letter is a sin. Wants to be seen, it's a sin. All right, nice job. Now the next step is to go and practice differentiating letters with our memorized deck.